Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Mark, a trainer here at WEX Field Service Management, and today we are covering QuickBooks Sync Training. This webinar will cover syncing to QuickBooks Desktop via the Sync tool, syncing to QuickBooks Online, one-way sync versus two-way sync items. We'll go over your customers' invoices and payments sync, how to check auto sync statuses. We'll look at your back office settings for your accounting and taxes, your QuickBooks item list, and how to access training resources for syncing. We'll do a live Q&A at the end where you'll be able to get your questions answered live on stream. And the first topic that we will talk about is there are two versions of QuickBooks. We have QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. And while they both sync, they do have specifics about each one in the way that they sync. If you're syncing to QuickBooks Desktop, that requires a sync tool. It's an application that you will download to your computer that has the main QuickBooks Desktop file on it, and that is what you will use to sync. The sync tool needs to be installed before you make the switch. And make the switch, that is the day you stop using your previous software or previous method and start using WEX FSM as your main software. This ensures you'll be able to sync when you start using WEX FSM. To install the sync tool, you will go to the Help Center, the Tasks section, and the QuickBooks Sync Training module, which I will show you exactly where that is when we dive into the system in just a bit. You can also just contact customer care. So if you're thinking, I'm QuickBooks Desktop, I know Mark told me where, but I forget, you can just reach out to customer care and say, hey, I need a sync tool install. And they will install the sync tool for you. It'll be a Zoom call, very similar to this. They'll take over your screen, install it for you, and teach you how to use it. Now, for you, if you are QuickBooks Desktop and you're going into a sync tool install, just some tips for you. Make sure you have your admin username and password for both WEX FSM and QuickBooks Desktop. You will attend the sync tool meeting using the main computer with your QuickBooks Desktop file on it. If you are using a server, let's say, your entire system is not on your hard drive, it's on a server, let your customer care rep know. That will dictate where they install the tool. And that's it. You are ready to go. Just show up, on time to the meeting, and then our customer care rep will take over from there. Now, once you have the sync tool downloaded to your computer, you will log in to the sync tool. You do only need to do this once. Once you are logged in and it's set, it will keep you logged in. You will have the option to either manually sync. So you've been entering customers' invoices and payments into WEX FSM. Your sync is set to manual sync with the sync tool. You will click the sync button and it will run a sync. If you want, you can set up an auto sync, either 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, or once per day. And for the auto sync, it will just automatically sync at the intervals you set, and you don't have to push a button or, think about it. It will just happen in the background automatically. Now, the sync tool does need to be open. So when you have QuickBooks open and you're working, you will need to have the sync tool open as well. That will just run in the background and do the sync. And then I do recommend that you pin the sync tool to your taskbar at the bottom where all your applications are. That way you can just easily turn it on and access that app as needed. And then just know that as you update your items in WEX FSM, like let's say you have a customer and you need to change their last name, you can go in and make that change, and then that will sync down to your QuickBooks. So that was QuickBooks Desktop. For QuickBooks Online, that does not require a sync tool. Everything is cloud-based. When you sign up, you would have sent your credentials to the data team here at WEX FSM, and that is what they use to connect, and everything will just sync automatically. Now, there's no manual sync option. Kind of as a result of this, it is all auto sync. The sync happens automatically every 10 minutes, 24 hours a day. And so it's nice. You don't really have to think about it. You'll be entering your data into WEX FSM every 10 minutes. Any updates that you've made, that will now sync down to QuickBooks. And just the biggest differences between the two: QuickBooks Desktop requires the sync tool and does allow for a manual sync option. And QuickBooks Online, there's no sync tool needed to be installed, but there's also no manual sync option. It's auto sync only. And what actually syncs? Now, we're going to get into the details of that, and I'm going to show you in the system, but it's important to know that in your syncing data, there are two sync items. There's two ways that things will sync. One is a one-way sync, and the other is a two-way sync. One-way sync items must be entered into WEX FSM first. That is things like your customers, your invoices, and your payments. You will enter those into WEX FSM, and those will sync down to your QuickBooks. If you enter those into QuickBooks first, they will not sync up to WEX FSM. So let's say you are finished with your data loads, you've made the switch, and now you're officially done with onboarding, you're using your system. If you're continuing to enter into your previous software, just know that that's not going to sync up for one-way sync items. Two-way sync items, you can edit in QuickBooks. And these are things like your chart of accounts, your taxes, and your QuickBooks item list. Two-way sync items, you will edit in both platforms. And so if, let's say, you need an update to a QuickBooks item list item, you can edit that manually in QuickBooks, and then that will sync up to WEX FSM. All right, so that is just some foundation, some ground work information. And now let's go ahead and jump into the system to see where these things are located. There we go. All right. And so the first, I'm going to show you one-way sync items, which will be your customers, your invoices, and your payments. We have lists that you can visit in the system that will show you the auto sync statuses for these. To go here, you will go to Jobs. And first, let's look at the invoice list. The invoice list, this is where you will see all of your invoices in your system. As you create invoices, they will save in your system, and you will see them in this list here. Now, you can use this as a way to just search for invoices and go in and view them. But we're talking about QuickBooks today, and the auto sync status will tell you the sync status of every invoice in your system. You can also search by sync statuses. And we have ready, which means it is in a ready state and will be syncing on your next sync. Not ready means that there is a piece of information that's missing that is preventing it from syncing that you'll need to take a look at. You can turn the sync off, meaning the item will not sync. If there's some type of error, it will let you know. Syncing means it's in the process of syncing and will be available in QuickBooks soon. And then synced means that it is officially synced and you will be able to find that in your QuickBooks. Now, this is a great place where you can do some sync troubleshooting if needed. Normally you're adding your invoices, those are saving in your WEX FSM system, and then it's syncing down to QuickBooks. That's all happening in the background. You don't have to worry about it. And that is the majority of time that is going to happen standard. However, there may be times where there's a piece of information that wasn't entered, and we will go to look at the not ready status to see anything that's kind of needing some attention before it will sync. Not ready, if you look here, right next to it, it says details. And when you click into details, this will let you know what it wants. So let's take a look at the one here for Dylan. So if I click on details, this is saying a tax group is required to sync. So we need to update the tax group. And also we need to select the income account we want these line items to field map to sync to QuickBooks. So I will select the tax group. I'm here in Charlotte. And then I want these to go to, well, this one will go to labor, and then this one will go to job. Once you give it what it wants, hit save. And now that's ready to go. And then you would just follow that process for any of these that say not ready. If you are still in the onboarding stage, and let's say that you have not made the switch yet, you will soon. After you make the switch and your supplemental data load is loaded and your sync has been turned on, I would just come to this page just to make sure that what was loaded, is good to go. And as you start entering these items into your system, this is just a good page, maybe even bookmark it to come to check your auto sync statuses. And of course, if you look in QuickBooks and you're looking for an invoice that you think should have synced, but it's not there, you can't find it, this is the first place I would come to, search for it, and then see if there is a not ready status that needs to be fixed before it will sync. So this is invoice sync. Next, let's look at the payment list. We will go to jobs, payment list. This is similar to the invoice list. This will show you all of your payments in your system. And this also has a auto sync status. And so if you're noticing a payment did not sync, this would be the place to go. And you can always check what is happening here. If you hover over this, it will give you a summary, some information. If there's an error, you can hover over and it will tell you the error here. If there is, you can click on these three little dots here, and this will allow you to edit the payment. You can change customer, refund the payment, or delete the payment directly from here. And any changes that you make will update and sync down to your QuickBooks. Lastly, here we have customers. So this is from here. If you go to your main navigation in the top left, it will say customers. Click on that. That brings you to your customers page. This is where you will find your entire customer list. And you also have your sync status here. And so, same as the others, you will be able to see whether something is synced. Perhaps one is not ready and needs to be looked at. But the most important part, or a thing to point out on this page, is this is where you can manage, merge, and delete customers. In terms of syncing, if you're going to merge customers, let's say that you have two of the exact same customers, or maybe someone has gotten married and now they will be living, in the same location. You will select both of those accounts to merge and click merge. Now you just follow what it says. It's going to ask which of these accounts do you want the master to be. select, and then it will just take everything from the merge with master account that will merge into the master, and it will become a single account with information from both. The important part here with syncing is that you need to make sure if you're going to merge a customer in WEX FSM that you do that merge first in QuickBooks. And the main reason is when the sync happens, let's say you merge your customer here, now it becomes a single account. That's going to sync down to QuickBooks and it's going to be searching for the same account. If it can't find that same account, it won't be able to sync. So important when merging customers, perform this merge in QuickBooks first. Make sure that the master is the same, and then it will all be able to find itself and sync correctly from here. So that is customers and merging customers. Next, let me check my notes just to make sure I did not miss anything. Yep, excellent. Okay, so those are one-way sync items. You're going to enter your customers, invoices, and payments into WEX FSM first, and then those are going to sync down to your QuickBooks. Now, let's look at two-way sync items. And the first place we're going to go for that is your settings, accounting, and taxes. This is kind of your back office settings in your system. This will show you which version of QuickBooks you have. It will let you know if your sync for QuickBooks is on or off. And then this will be a one-to-one direct comparison to what you have in your QuickBooks. This is just loaded in from your QuickBooks in that initial load. And that includes classes, income accounts, inventory part accounts, your tax preferences, and then any tax groups that you have in your QuickBooks will also sync over. So those will auto apply based on the zip code of the service location that you're doing. Now, the unique thing about this, since it is a two-way sync item, you can update and manage all of this information in QuickBooks, and it will sync up and make adjustments in WEX FSM. So if you need to make an update to classes, income accounts, inventory part accounts, or update the taxes, maybe, per region, per location, those updates will happen and sync up to WEX FSM. Next, let's take a look at let's go to payment terms because those will also sync up. So if I go to settings, jobs, payment terms. Now these payment terms are also a two-way sync item. If you have payment terms, due on receipt, net 30, net 60 in your QuickBooks, those will sync both ways. All right. And so next, we're going to look at where you can access some training for learning more about QuickBooks Sync. If you go to WEX FSM, go to the Help Center in the bottom right, and then go to Tasks. That will bring you to some training. All of these are training modules. If you're still in the kind of onboarding and setup stage, I do recommend that you work through all of these. But based on the QuickBooks version that you will have a QuickBooks Sync training right here. If you have QuickBooks Online, it'll be QuickBooks Online Training. If you have QuickBooks Desktop, it'll be QuickBooks Desktop Training. This account is a QuickBooks Desktop account. And so this is just reminding what we had mentioned earlier, which is you need to install the sync tool. This is actually the link that you will click to schedule your sync tool install meeting. So if you are QuickBooks Desktop, this is 100% a place that you should go and click this link and make sure you get that sync tool installed. This training module will also walk you through the items that we talked about today. So, what is sync? How does it work? Your customer sync, your invoice sync, your payment sync, accounting and taxes. How do you stop something from syncing? And then how do I run a sync? And so some of the things that we covered today is here, and you can reference that. Now, let's go back. You can also go to help right here. If there's something very specific that you want, you can type in to the search, and we have a ton of knowledge articles. So, I mean, this is great tip for just anything that you want to learn in the system, but we do have a ton of different syncing articles. If you are even like, let's say you're syncing from a previous software, type in that previous software, and then we most likely have the sync article for that, which will let you know exactly what is coming over in your data load, what will export, what we load, and things like that. We have a ton of these articles for different customers who are coming from previous softwares. And lastly, today we are recording today's session. So if you do want to watch that back, you can go to video courses and webinars. And then if you want to attend live streams just like this, here are our calendars to sign up for future live streams. And then if you scroll down, we are at past webinars. So our webinar recordings are here. Today is the QuickBooks Sync Training, and I always keep these links up to date with the most recent replay. All right. So there you have it. That is our overview today of QuickBooks. We are going to go to our Q&A now, so get your questions ready. But I just want to say thanks so much for joining. My name is Mark with WEX Field Service Management, and this has been QuickBooks Sync Training.